everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach. As always, I'm joined by Christian Garcia. We're zooming it up today because we both live busy jet-setting lives recently.
Mostly
Uh,
Cody.
yeah, it's thank you guys for stopping by and giving the show a listen or a watch. I know we've kind of like been intermittent the past couple weeks here. It's just because I started a new job and they're sending me all over the damn place for training and stuff, which is, it's good and bad. It's good because having a job is sick, but also, like living out of a suitcase is not the best. So we're zooming it up for the sake of our own sanity. So hopefully everything sounds good, looks good. We're trying some new stuff with some, digital backgrounds and stuff. So hopefully it'll look good and sound good. We all have, decent microphones and stuff like that. So thank you guys for listening. We do appreciate it. If you want to check out any of our social media and all that good stuff, make sure to check out nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. Look at the cool little title that popped up right in my head. It's like right here. We do appreciate that. You can follow us on all the social medias. Like and subscribe. Ooh, that would have been a good one. Here, look, I could just do this. Like and subscribe. Exclamation points. There we
That's
go.
how they know we're serious about
That's
it.
how they know. That was our producer doing that. Definitely not me typing it right now. If you want to help support the show too, make sure to check out patreon.com/nerds with friends. Easiest way to help support the show. We do appreciate all of our patrons who help support us month after month. Today, we're talking a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Amongst Thieves. It's the new movie that's out right now. And obviously, like for a couple of D&D playing nerds, it's an exciting time because the last Dungeons and Dragons movie was not the best. Do you remember that one, Christian?
I remember watching it. I don't remember anything about it. I remember one of the Wayans brothers being in it.
Yeah, I always get the Wayans brothers mixed up. I think it was Damon Wayans was in that one, right?
Dude,
Or
and
Marlon Wayans.
I know I watched it, but I don't. If you had asked me what class
Jeremy Irons
in
was
there,
was in it too.
or
I
yeah,
remember
or
that.
which actors or what had happened, I couldn't fucking tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely not the best representation of the game we all love, but
But to be fair, I did not play or know anything about Dungeons and Dragons when they came out.
that's
So
true. That's true. Even when I was watching it, though, I'm like, this can't be it, right? There's no way that this is what people are talking about.
yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, we'll be giving our full review, and just like normal, we will be doing our spoiler-free review first to let you guys know, is it worth spending your hard-earned dollar dues to go see it in theaters? And then we'll go into full spoilers, our full analysis of the movie after the break. But before we do that, start the show as we always do with some nerdy confessions. Christian, what's your nerdy confession?
I was debating on which one to do, but since we're doing movies, I'll stick with the movie one. So I watched Super Mario Bros.
Super Mario
And
Bros.
I really enjoyed it, man. Like I didn't think I was going to, just because it's my childhood, fucking Super
Yeah.
Mario Bros. What I grew up with, and the live action one that was done was, interesting. Yeah,
Choices were made.
choices were made, and it was interesting. But I won't go into any spoilers, but it was good. I don't remember. I read the names of the guy who directed and wrote it, but forgive me, I don't recall. But you can tell that they were big fucking fans. And it was made with a lot of heart. It was the best story, no, but the movie had a lot of heart, and you could tell that whoever made it, like, were total fucking fans. And they put a lot of stuff that I wanted to see without the movie feeling crammed or rushed or pushed or things put in just to be put in. Chris Pratt, I was fucking shocked. He did a good job, you know.
Nice.
I guess slight spoiler is he doesn't do the Mario voice the whole time, but the reason why he doesn't make sense in the movie. So and
Yeah, I've heard that they address it like early on.
yeah, and early on, and I think it was a good choice as opposed to him trying to do originals Mario's voice. Who and I forget the voice actor's name, but everything I've read and heard, I've heard stories of people meeting him, and he's like the fucking sweetest person in the world. Like he's like the
Yeah.
nicest fucking guy. And to have tried to do his voice the whole time, I think would have been bad. But yeah, totally recommend watching it. Critics are not saying the best of things of it, but the fans are loving it. So highly recommend.
Charles Martinet is the
Yes, yes. Fucking sweetheart. Everything. I've met people that have worked with him, and like I've not once heard well, not even one single thing where like he's a dick or something. Like everyone is just like
yeah.
he's like the Matt Mercer of video games, I guess
Mhm.
I would say. You only hear amazing things about him.
Well, I mean, I think Matt Mercer is the Matt Mercer of video games.
Oh, that's true too, right? He's a voice actor.
Yeah.
As amazing as he is, I don't know, man. I'm gonna keep Mr. What was it, Charles?
Yeah, Charles Martinet.
At a higher caliber, man. You can't. It's hard to beat fucking the original voice of Mario.
You know what's funny to me is that, you know, for me, when I think of Mario, Mario doesn't have a voice. You know what I mean? Because like the defining games of Mario for me were, you know, the first Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2 or whatever that one was called,
I
and
thought
then
you were gonna say Jumpman because you're old.
Super no, I never played Jumpman, I don't think. But and then Super Mario 3, I think, is like the defining Mario game for me. Like the best looking one. And you know, finding the whistle and skipping to, level 10 or whatever.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah. all the little secrets and stuff. That game was
I,
just so fun.
I thought the voice you were gonna say the only acceptable one outside of Sir Charles would be the pro wrestler that did it in the cartoon. What's his name?
Oh, yeah, I know. I do remember the cartoon, but I don't know who which wrestler it was.
It was a pro wrestler. Man, I'm sure I could look it up. Distract the viewers while I look.
But yeah, I am glad that the movie is doing a good job. It at least what I've seen from the previews. I haven't seen it yet myself, but to me at least it looks like it nails like what I would want out of a Mario movie, right? You know, Plumber pulled into the Mushroom Kingdom, fighting Bowser, saving the princess. Luigi's also there for some reason, you know. And then it looks like they have little like some Mario Kart action, some Donkey Kong, I think that's what the people really wanted was, um, just a true representation of the game. So that's good to hear that they
It was good, and like I said, like a lot of the things that was put in, it made sense in the movie. It didn't seem like all right, let's just shove this in there because this is what them nerds want to see. It
right.
made total sense.
Yeah,
Lou Albano,
okay. Captain Lou Albano. Interesting.
like big in the '80s. I think he was in.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I do remember the where he would come in like live action at the
Yeah,
end, right?
they would do their little dance,
Yes.
like
I do remember that. Oh my god. That makes me feel really old. That was like hidden away somewhere deep in my brain library, you know?
with the fucking Mario rap. It's fucking dope, man.
Oh my god. That's crazy. That one, and remember like the Legend of Zelda show?
Oh yeah,
Excuse me, princess. I was
yeah.
like, what the fuck? Like, I don't
Like
know.
Link doesn't seem like he really wants to save the princess.
Yeah, like he doesn't seem like that big of a hero at all, really. It's so funny because like you ever have that thing where you like look up something that you used to watch as a child and you're like, I don't like I was so young when that came out. How do I remember that?
because
You
it's
know, it's
burned into your fucking brain
yeah,
memory.
it's just like because you know, you look up like the Ninja Turtles and stuff, and like I remember that coming out. I remember having the Ninja Turtle toys. Was I really like 4 years old, 5 years old when some of this stuff was coming out?
Fuck
It's
yeah.
weird to think about, man. It's weird what our brains will like latch onto and hold forever. My nerdy confession, it's kind of a kind of an interesting one. So like I've been, like I said, I've been traveling this past week. I was in Austin, Texas for training for this new job. And the TV at the hotel was not a smart TV. So I was just like looking at my little phone like this for the entire week. So
Wait,
that's
what was
how
it like? It was a tube?
no, it was just it was a regular, it was a flat screen made by Panasonic, which you know, Panasonic like really got out of the flat screen game pretty early on. And then like it had no apps or anything. It just had regular cable and it was like standard definition cable. So like the sides were cut in and it was like zoomed in. I'm like, this is shitty. I turned it off immediately. And so I was streaming on my phone and you know, I wanted to watch Mandalorian. I wanted to watch, you know, Star Trek Picard. And so I was just like stuck on my phone. But you know, YouTube on your phone looks a little different than it does on Apple TV. So sometimes I would get other suggestions and stuff. And I started watching Pawn Stars again. God damn, that show's
I,
addictive.
I fucking love Pawn Stars.
It's so good.
Me and Sabrina were like, we watched whatever was on Netflix. I think we even subscribed to like the History Channel just to see the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So check out here's my suggestion. Check out YouTube because they have like collections of different things by like categories, which is what I've been like diving into over the last week. So it'd be
yeah,
like the top 10 like fake items that came into the
yeah,
pawn
yeah, yeah.
shop or the top 10 big money items, top 10 cars or whatever. So I've been like burning through those and I
My
just
my favorite ones, and I wish like these guys had their own show. It was one of the gun appraiser guys.
oh
And
yeah.
like it was this one guy who always comes in and always inflates the price of his fucking items. Like, oh yeah, this is a fucking $30,000 gun. And then the gun appraiser comes like, it's a $2,000 gun.
Yeah.
Like, God damn that little fucking asshole. Like, fuck this guy. Like he's always like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And it's like the best to see those two. And
My
the other guy's always polite. He's like, all right, well, I'll see you later. And he just like
yeah, yeah. My favorite part of that show, I think, is that like obviously you have some people coming in like, hey, I found this really old thing that my grandpa left to me. I just want to see what it's worth. And that's fine. You know, like sure, bring that thing in. My thing is the guys who are like, look, I'm a big time collector of such and such, and you know, I'm trying to get, you know, $45,000 for this, you know, Incan tribal mask or whatever. And then they go in and he's like, yeah, this is obviously fake. It says like made in China here at the bottom. And he's like, these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
yeah,
And like, you know, like, what are you doing? First of all, like if you're a real like expert, why are you going to a pawn shop, bro?
yeah.
Like, like to me, you know, and I will say like I've been into a couple pawn shops, right? But like I've never in my life considered selling anything to them. And I mean, I get it. Sometimes people are in a bind and it's Vegas, right? So maybe you got some gambling debts to pay off or something. But like I've definitely never like it just never crossed my mind because you know you're not going to get what the thing's worth, right?
Those are the ones that piss me off so much when
Yeah.
like the appraiser comes like, oh yeah, this is a rare item and it's
At auction, it might get
yeah.
$30,000.
And
And
then
the
like
guy
how much you want for it?
30,000.
35.
That's yeah.
Like what?
Or even 30. Like, well, that's what the guy said. Said it's worth 30,000. Like, yeah, but he said at auction, which means you have to pay the auction house, you have to get it appraised, you have to get it authenticated, you have to pay for all these things, and then you're just sitting on this thing for that long. So no, I'm not going to pay you $30,000, which is the upper end of what an auction would give you.
And also they're a business. They need
Yeah.
to make money.
Also, they're a pawn shop. I
Yeah.
know they have a show, but at the end of the day, they're not an art collection auction house. You know what I mean? They're not going to pay you close to what it would make at auction. They want to
Although,
they want to make 40%, 50% on it, you know?
like I feel like I've watched enough episodes where I almost feel like I know the fucking guys that work there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rick will spend very close to the dollar amount for books. The dude
Yeah,
fucking
he
loves
loves books.
books. Like he will like, oh, it's a $50,000 book.
Would you take 45 for
Yeah.
it?
And you can see him get nervous when
Yeah.
the person is like, I don't know if I want to or not.
Yeah, he has certain things that he really likes, which is always funny to watch. Like I think a guy brought in like a guitar that Jimi Hendrix had played, and the guy wanted $1 million for it, right? Which honestly, at an auction, that guitar could probably get close to that if it's at the right time and everything. Um, and Rick started off at like I don't know $400,000 or something like that, right? And like he the guy's like, nah, man, I can't take anything less than 1 million. I can't take it. And he was like, all right, 500. All right, 550. He's like, all right, well, can't make a deal. Sorry. The guy's packing it up to go. He's like, how about 600? And I was like, oh shit, man, Rick wants that thing.
Yeah, no, I mean
It's my
that's
favorite.
it's rough. Like, dude, like we can't do that shit. If someone came in like, "Yeah, I'm trying to sell these magic cards," like, ah, well, fuck me. All right, well, what do you got? Like, like I obviously want it. It
Yeah,
would be tough. Like, it's you can't be a fucking collector and have that type of business. Like, you have to be able to let things go and and be
right.
able to buy things cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you're in that business, you really can't have much of a collector's mentality. Now, like you're saying, I think books are one thing that he kind of likes, and maybe some of those do go in his personal collection
Yeah,
or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think that's okay. But if you're like us or something, or like Rick, our buddy Rick, with the GI Joe stuff, right? Like
yeah.
you just buy it all and keep it all. That's not how you start a pawn shop.
It's also
Um,
interesting though, like when they get things that they have no clue whatsoever. Like I remember there was one where like Pokemon cards came in and some dude had like a shit ton of Charizards.
yeah,
And like I think it was Rick or I don't know if their dad was still alive. He's like, what are these Pokemon cards? It's just like
Pokemans.
and he's like, yeah, he's like, and you can see Chumley like, no man, these guys these really worth a lot of money, blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny. What a great concept for that show. It's just one of those things. Like another good one was like Storage Wars, where like they buy the storage units
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and dig through them and stuff. Like whoever thought the idea of those shows up was like they just knew like everyone gets that little bit of like serotonin hit in their brain when it's like, oh, it's so much money. Oh, that's so cool.
I've
Uh,
always been curious about going to a storage
yeah,
auction because like you hear and I think one of the guys on that shows their stories was like I bought a storage and inside was a comic book collection worth like $100,000. You
yeah.
obviously think that's the dream, right? Like
That's a
you
dream,
obviously
sure.
you want that shit. And
Yeah.
I know obviously I would be chasing that, but I know with my luck of picking packs with magic cards, I
Yeah.
know I'm only gonna get the fucking storage units that someone has a collection of fucking scabs in it or some shit like
Yeah.
fucking disgusting.
I think, like I'd be interested in doing one of those just to see what it was like kind of thing. But like I think you got to assume most of the time you're gonna lose your ass and you're just kind of like hunting for that one big hit kind of thing.
Yeah,
Where like in the corner you peek out and you see some long boxes or something, or like some card boxes or whatever. They're
I
like,
always loved the
ooh,
guys who swore they were fucking like storage whisperers. They look in, it's like, nah, you see that? That right there is hiding this, this, and that, and the shape of that's covering this. So I
yeah,
know there's money in there. It's like, what are you
yeah.
talking about?
It's like, oh shit, it was just lawn chairs.
Yeah.
I thought it was bags of money. Damn it. Yeah, it's very interesting like that, like how much like value can be like just locked away in a box like that. It's kind of like modern day treasure hunting, you know what I mean? But most of the time when you're hunting for treasure, you just find a bunch of rocks,
Yeah.
so but man, yeah, if you guys like revisit Pawn Stars because it is a fun time. And
I don't even know if it's still going. I
I
don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know there's some more recent episodes because like, you can definitely tell when like Chumley like started smoking meth, and then also like when he stopped. Because
I thought he had his stomach stapled or something. You're talking about because he lost weight?
no, I think he got in trouble because he had like crack or something on him. I could
I
be
know he's
making
been
that.
arrested a couple times for like having guns he shouldn't been owning or something like that.
Yeah. I think he definitely got into some trouble with the law, but he did lose a bunch of weight, and so did the son too.
Which you would
Um,
think working at a pawn shop, you'd be like, "Oh no, man, that's the shop. So I was just cleaning it up here." Like, dude, easy excuse right there.
yeah. um, but yeah, it's yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, he had. Here's what cops found in his um in his house. He had. Oh, this is kind of funny. Yeah, Chumley Pawn Star, Chum Chum Room. Uh,
What was that?
he had something called a Chum Chum Room. With
Wait,
a
Chum Lee had a
yeah,
chum chum roo.
yeah, with a dance pole in it.
What the fuck is a chum chum roo? This is not real shit you're reading right now.
In the Chum Chum Room, police found and seized clear plastic baggie with white residue and a $1 bill rolled up with white powder residue. Wonder what that was.
No,
Uh,
officer, that's collector's cocaine.
yeah, I was
This was off
testing
the
it.
this was off the set of fucking a movie, you know.
They seized marijuana, methamphetamine, drug pipes, and other paraphernalia, lots of ammunition, 12 guns, including handguns, revolvers, rifles, shotguns, and some of them were loaded. Pretty cool guy. But I think he's on the I think he's probably doing better now. I hope. Let's all hope Chumley's doing a little bit better. Uh
I would think in Vegas you can own guns. Like I don't see why you could get in trouble for that.
no, I think some of them were not registered to him and things like
Ah,
that. And the drugs is probably really what they were going for. But um which is weird. Like Las Vegas is hard on drugs. It's kind of strange.
right?
But enough about Pawn Stars. Let's get talking about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. We should say the full title, I suppose. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about spoiler-free review. Did we like it? Did we hate it? And should you go see it out in theaters? Then after our little break, we will get into full spoilers. So you could, if you're looking for a little deeper meaning into some of the movies, you can listen to that. So, what do you think, Christian? Did you like the movie? Do you think it was a good representation of D&D for D&D fans and non D&D fans alike?
It's so rough, right? To say if it was a good representation of D&D. Um, Generally speaking, yes. I think it's a pretty good way of breaking into what the game is like in our imaginations, you know,
Yeah.
what it's like playing in our head.
Mhm.
Um, Now, is someone going to understand rules or dice rolls or something like that? No, but yeah,
Sure.
overall, yes, it was. I really enjoyed it. I think it would be. I think if you go in just watching it thinking it's a fantasy movie, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think.
think there will be some times you're like, "Fuck is that?" It's just like,
Yeah. I
there's
think.
a, there's a humanoid dragon and no one's addressing this.
Right. I think if you just go in expecting a fantasy movie, you'll have a good time. Right? It's not like you have to have the player's handbook memorized or the Dungeon Master's Guide memorized to enjoy the movie or to understand what was going on. But I also think you're right, where there is enough D&D specific things in there that maybe aren't dwelled on very long, that D&D players will be like, ooh, that's that, ooh, that's this, so I think that it's really set up to be a good movie for all audiences. I don't think it was made for just D&D fans or just non D&D fans, which I think is what you want out of a movie like that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the problem most studios fall into is they're like, well, we want to make a Dragon Ball Z movie, but we got to make sure that non-Dragon Ball Z fans, enjoy it. So they just forget about all the people who like the anime or whatever and try to make some Hollywood version of the movie, and then it turns into a pile of shit, right? And this one, it's like, no, they respected the source material and made it approachable for people who have no idea about the world of D&D. Like, you don't have to know that, like, Baldur's Gate and Waterdeep are cities in D&D, or that Neverwinter is a big time city in D&D to enjoy the movie. You don't have to know that Dragonborn and what Iokokas or whatever. What are the
Birds.
Iokokaras or whatever?
Yeah.
I can never say their name. The bird people. Lee Iacocca is the guy who invented the Ford Mustang. But you don't have to know that stuff to enjoy the movie. It's like, oh, it's a fantasy world. There's animal people. Okay, I get that. Fine. You don't have to think too hard on it, right? But for everyone, for every level of D&D player that there's something in there for you to like see, like in the background, or some inside joke or whatever. So even like your heavy duty, like like D&D stream watchers, like critters and stuff like that, are going to see stuff that are like specific D&D inside jokes that are really funny. And some of those might go over the heads of your average viewer, but the acting and the chemistry of all the characters, I think, is enough to make it a good overall movie in general. So I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, like I went with a good mix of people. Like I took my sister who has no idea what like a
Yeah.
D&D is, and I took my niece who I will DM a game for her, and she loved it. She loved it. So my niece, like, and particularly because there was a tiefling druid, which is what her character is. She's like, oh my god, it's like my character. Tamale Posole Berry. What, I forgot her character's name, but that's actually, I'm not being fucking racist. That's actually the name of her character. And I was asking my sister, like, did you get it? She's like, yeah, it was fun. Oh, you enjoyed it? He's like, yeah. Did you have any idea what's going on? No, not really. but
Yeah.
but I liked it. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I
I also
think,
didn't question anything of the stuff like the Dragonborn or the Tabaxis or anything. It was just like,
yeah.
oh, they're just there. Like they're just people.
Right. I think it's not so focused on those characters, where like you don't have to really know what a tiefling is to understand that there's, oh, this chick who lives in the woods with horns sticking out of her head and a tail. Like, okay, she's obviously some sort of fantasy person. I don't think, which is nice, because like it doesn't take into account like their abyssal ancestry and things like that. You don't have to know that. It doesn't make any difference to the movie, and that makes it a well-written movie, I think. And at the end of the day, it's like, and we'll get more into this in spoilers, but the plot is like very straightforward. We have to get this thing to do this thing to rescue this person, and then that's the plot. Like, it doesn't matter how fantastic any of those items are or where these are located. Like, it's a very easy to understand plot. Now, if they had some, if they had focused more on, like, say, like, like the Eye of Vecna, or some one of these other, D&D, like, MacGuffins or whatever, I think that would have been maybe harder for your average moviegoer to understand. But I think they laid everything out for your average layman to enjoy, and explained enough of everything to make it an enjoyable experience for everyone. So I'm really pleased with it, and I think it's doing fairly well in as far as the box office goes, which is exciting, because that hopefully means they'll make more, maybe not with these characters, but in the universe, and continue the D&D cinematic universe, if you will. I think it's good. Any like major downsides without giving away any spoilers?
Downsides. I am a big fan of practical effects. I love it. I will take practical effects and puppeteering over any CG anytime. Um, That being said, I think they could have spent a little bit more on the budget on and particularly the Tabaxi character. And even they're in there for like 30 seconds, but I was just like, I just remember pausing, like, oh, that's a really bad practical effect puppeteering, particularly when the Tabaxi baby, they pull it out. When the sexy paladin saved that Tabaxi kid, which I thought also was weird as sexy paladin. It's like, you never really think,
Yeah,
of that. He's just the justice guy. Like, hey, these are the rules and this is what I follow and that's it and I don't
yeah.
deviate from this. um but yeah, I just remembered they could have spent a little bit more money on the practical effects, but not anything that pulled me out of the movie. It was just like for a quick second, like, oh,
Kind of
I mean,
weird. Yeah.
obviously no movie is perfect and there's going to be some stuff. But that was like the only thing I can think of right now. And I was like, oh, could have spent a little bit more dollars on that.
Yeah, yeah. I think, it would have been nice. I mean, most of those characters were in the background, so I can see why they didn't spend a ton on it. Like the Dragonborn looked kind of big and clunky.
Yeah.
But I think, it got the point across kind of thing. If they were going to have a Dragonborn main character, I think they would first of all, they'd probably go full CG, and it would probably look a little bit more convincing. But, I think it served its purpose for the movie. I didn't think too much about that. I think, there was a couple elements of the plot that could have maybe used a little reworking, writing wise, but I think overall, it was a very enjoyable experience. So I think everyone should go watch it, check it out, and see it in theaters. It's a good action comedy kind of thing. So there's some big, cinematic, you know, set pieces in there. Definitely
Anyone who
worth.
could watch it 4D, I recommend watching it 4D. It
Oh,
sounds
was it fun in 40?
I loved it.
Like
Yeah,
the chairs were rumbling around and stuff.
yeah. My niece was just like in the beginning, like when it first shakes, she just was like, "Oh shit!" like it
Yeah,
got stuck.
4D doesn't fuck around. If anyone hasn't tried it, it's because remember, I think Cinemark theaters did D box,
Yeah,
which was like I was
a
like, oh,
very watered down version.
this sucks. It's like, oh, thanks for charging me $30 for this ticket, where it's just like, it just kind of vibrates a little bit. You're like, oh, okay. No, 4D is like, like your Disneyland caliber, like, throwing you around in the seats and like spraying shit in your face. It's like, it's
There's
intense.
even smells. I just think I
Yeah.
haven't. This is the first movie where they were putting like actual smells, like when they were out in fields, you can smell like grass. Like this is fucking dope. I was like,
Yeah.
this is awesome.
I remember seeing Top Gun in it and it snowed.
Yeah, we watched. Yeah, it was the
Yeah, it
best,
was like,
man.
oh, so cool. It was like, oh, it's fucking snowing in here right now. I fucking love this.
No, yeah, dude, I wish they would bring that back just to like.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that movie any other way, man.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's just
In
not as
particular, in the
impactful.
beginning, like when the jet engine is like rumbling and like your whole fucking chair is moving and then like moves back when it takes off. Like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
it's so sick. Oh man, yeah. Go check out for it's exclusive, I think, to Regal Cinemas. So if you have one near you, it's definitely worth checking out. All right, well, let's take a little break, Christian, and when we get back, let's talk some spoilers for Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. We'll be right back. Time to talk some spoilers for Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. So if you haven't seen it and you're interested in seeing it, you don't want anything ruined, might want to pause the video now, leave it on in the background, let it play through several thousand times. We'd appreciate it, but you might want to turn away, because we're going to get into some of the spoilers of the movie. So uh, let's get into the nitty gritty details. So in the movie, we have Chris Pine playing the Bard character.
Which I have some feelings about.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, I didn't like that version of the bard. I was just like, okay, he didn't do any magic.
Yeah.
Like he didn't cast any spells. He barely attacked.
Hmm.
And I was just like, what? Like it's fucking useless.
Uh-huh.
But after the movie, when I was digesting it, I actually started to like it more and more
Yeah,
because it's like, well, he did motivate everyone, and he
he was
did
given some bardic
inspire.
inspiration
Yeah,
constantly. You know.
he consistently gave inspiration when people thought they couldn't do things. He was like, "No, man, you got this. You can fucking do it."
Mhm.
Which is, yeah, what bards do. And I mean, fucking, let's be honest. Like, the idea of a bard is fucking kind of
Stupid.
useless. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
it's kind of useless. But the game does a good job of making them do like really awesome things. And I think it was at first I didn't like the choice that he didn't cast any magic using music as the power of music. But as much as it was a fantasy movie, that's a fucking tough sell to do. You know,
Right.
particularly for someone who does not play the games. Like, wait, he plays music and fucking magic happens?
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't the fucking sorcerer guy over there just fucking do that? Like,
Right. Right.
but so yeah, after digesting it, I started to enjoy it more and more of that choice. But as
Mhm.
an initial knee jerk reaction, I was like, oh, I don't like this. Like, I don't like this at all.
I think kind of what they did with all the characters, and I agree with the choice because you're right. Like the true D&D players would be like, "Oh, why isn't he casting like Mage Hand or whatever? Where he plays his lute and fucking blades shoot out of it or whatever the fuck, right?" And same thing with all the other characters, right? The why didn't the barbarian have like totem armor or something like that, or why did the druid didn't cast any spells either. She just wild shaped over and over again. And I think what they did is they kind of like they took each of these classes that they wanted included and they kind of like condensed them down to like what makes that class unique. So barbarian, barbarian rage, right? And we saw that with Michelle Rodriguez. She's kind of a quiet, stoic character, but then when battle starts happening, she's like cracking heads and like smashing people to bits, kind of thing. I think they encapsulated that really well. And like you could see that like people were afraid of getting her angry. That kind of makes the barbarian rage happen.
I actually
Uh,
really enjoyed all the fight scenes with her. They were really dope. Like using everything at what was nearby, improvised weapons and stuff.
mhm.
Like, going into a rage is like everything is a fucking weapon right now.
Yeah. Even though I will say I don't think barbarians really use improvised weapons that much. I think in the game that they don't get like a proficiency with that or anything. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I played a barbarian. But I think she did a really good job of playing that character. And then Chris Pine, like you said, he's constantly giving bardic inspiration, which is a hard thing to like show, but like if you pay it attention, it makes sense what he was doing throughout the thing. Sorcerer, he was doing wild magic most of the time, right? He
Yeah.
had the little wheel thing that kind of you know gives the idea of wild magic. You don't really know what's going to pop out of it, kind of thing.
Oh,
Drew,
see, I thought those were spell slots. I was
oh
like, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, you just got to like wind it up to like actually get the slot. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
yeah, I mean that's a cool interpretation. I thought it was a wild magic thing because he like spun it and then like something popped out and it was like, oh fuck, and then he throws it, and
Yeah.
some he doesn't really have confidence in like what will happen each time. But it could have been spell slots too. You could be right for sure. The druid just wild shaped all over the place, way more than any druid ever really could. And she wild shaped from one creature into another, which is a big no in D&D. And like wild shaping into an owlbear is tough. But again, part of the fun is D&D is like you know if you make some sort of deal with the dungeon master, you could really do anything. So I didn't mind any of that too much. Um, and then like also, did you catch the rogue in the movie?
What? Oh, you mean Hugh Grant?
No, his daughter.
No.
His daughter was a rogue because she has a freaking invisibility ring or pendant or whatever, right? She's the stealthy one, so she's gonna. I think I'm calling this right now. I think she's gonna be in the next movie as the rogue of the group, because
Okay.
all she did the entire time was sneaking around the castle.
Oh, that's right.
dancing,
And particularly in
stealthing.
the beginning when they used her to like
Literally, when she was a baby, she was hiding in a cabinet. You know what I mean?
I
And
didn't think about that.
that's how they defeated the wizard too. She sneak attacked her with the magic cuffs. So, but yeah, so I think what they did is they kind of distilled all of the classes into their best known forms. And I think that's the way to do it, to introduce an entire audience to what these classes do.
One thing I did want to see that I was a little disappointed was I wanted to see Chris Pine do vicious mockery. And maybe he did, and I just didn't fucking notice. But like, it would have
Yeah.
been
Well,
kind of funny.
I think he kind of he took some shots at the Red Wizard lady, and Hugh Grant for that matter. And I think might not have been as vicious as we would have wanted, but I think there was some mockery in there for sure. And then let's talk about the Paladin, right? So the Paladin, when I first saw him, in the trailers and stuff, I was like, that's gonna be kind of lame if they make him um like the hero, like the super cool guy of the whole movie, and he's just like he's the straight guy, and all the other ones are the fun goofy characters. But then as I watched it, I feel like he was a DM character, right? Because as in a character that the dungeon master, um, you know, that the dungeon master is controlling,
You
who
mean
comes
NPC?
an NPC essentially, who the dungeon master controls and has him come in and give the players what they need and then vanishes out of nowhere. And I think they achieved that, because like everything he said, like, was very like every line he delivered was super straight and didn't really have that much character to it. When you think about everyone else is like kind of joking and reacting around him, he's just like I fought in many battles, and I was abandoned by my kinspeople or whatever. And then he has like no follow-up to anything. And then even when he leaves the group, he walks away and he just
Straight
walks in a
line.
straight line, walks over the rocks and stuff. It's like completely how a DM controls an NPC. So I don't know if that was intentional, but it definitely seemed like it. But man, really, really funny. I thought his character was pretty great.
I love the overweight dragon. He was my favorite.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. I don't remember. He is supposed to be like a named character in D&D. Um, he's
I just
like
want. I think every character was other than the players, the main characters, but I think everyone else was actual in some kind of lore or in some of the campaigns. Like I was thrown off by
that.
the main bad.
Denbershad is the dragon apparently. Denbershad.
Yeah, I just want to give him treats, man. I just want to give him snacks. That's it. Little
He's
pets.
the wormsmith of Gracklestooth. I know, he was so chunky. It was great.
I just want to rub his belly and give him snacks. That's it.
um, yeah, there was. Let's talk about some of like the D&D inside jokes that we could explain to like a non D&D player, that maybe they didn't catch, right? Because there are a lot of them out there. I think the first and foremost one is like that the bard is kind of like a jokey class. Most people who play bards are the very charismatic, like jokesters of the group, right? Because they're just like their whole base stat is charisma, you know. And I think Chris Pine played that perfectly. Like a lot of a bard's skills may not be that great in combat, but they're very good in social settings, and I think they showed that really well. Um, that was definitely one of them. The gelatinous cube. So at one point in the maze running sequence, when they're in the big event at Neverwinter, they have this slimy cube that they like jump into, and inside there's like a skeleton. that the gelatinous cube is one of the most infamous like bad guys in D&D, because it's just a cube of jello that gets you stuck and then melts you slowly over time.
It just digests you while you're in there. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And they get out and they're like, ugh, it stings. um or what were some other like D&D specific things in there?
I was
uh
hoping they would get stuck with doors, but they didn't so much. Like it's like, oh, let me check it for traps, But again, they didn't have the rogue the whole time,
that's true,
So
that's true. Well, the bridge scene when they're in the underdark, where they're like the paladins explaining how the bridge trap is supposed to work, right? That totally reminds me, especially as a DM, of like explaining this like long sequence of like how you're trying to set up this puzzle for the group, and then someone just like tries beating it with a hammer or something, and just like ruins everything you had set up.
just
and
triggers the trap.
and so then you as a DM have to be like, okay, and you look over there and oh my god, the staff is a portal gun, and now you can get across safely. That seemed very much to me like a play at, when the DM creates this elaborate puzzle and the players just like fuck it up completely, and you have to like on your toes think of some cool way of getting them out of it and back into the adventure. I thought that was pretty funny. Um, or like even when we first see Holga, Michelle Rodriguez's character, like beating up at all those guards and stuff, and Chris Pine's like trying to scrape his ropes off.
Just
That
someone who rolled a natty one, just trying
yeah,
to get out of the
that
trap.
that screamed to me like a failed ability check. Like tried to do it while she's just annihilating everyone. Um, and then and then like it's a little thing, but like Hugh Grant's character when he's just trying to escape with all the loot. We all know that one player who's just like all he's interested in is the gold, and he doesn't care what the rest of the party's doing. He's just in it for the loot. Um, yeah, there's some really good little things. I think Michelle Rodriguez in particular did a really good job of portraying a character, what a character with a low intelligence score would be like, because she said some dumb stuff and didn't understand things, but she wasn't an idiot either. You know what I
No,
mean?
she was intelligent, but I did feel like she did have her intelligence might have been low, but her wisdom wasn't that bad
Right.
because anytime Chris Pine had like a moral dilemma, she was always there like, hey man, like you gotta think of this, you gotta think about your kid,
Hmm.
there's this is why we need to keep going. So but I guess you can also kind of put that towards I guess not constitution because she's not eating anything, but she she very much knew like, hey, yes, you're right. She did say some stuff that wasn't that intelligent, but she always knew when she was pretty wise on some of the decisions that they had to make.
Right, and that's an interesting thing that is always a new D&D player has trouble with, is like, what's the difference between intelligence and wisdom? And it is two different things. And I thought that for the short time that we saw this movie, they definitely showed that off fairly well. Um, and basically, the whole plot of this movie, right, is there's Chris Pines and Michelle Rodriguez are in jail because of a heist gone wrong, where they were basically betrayed by Hugh Grant's character and this red wizard lady, who left them for dead to get caught, kind of thing, and escaped with the loot. And so they need to break out of prison and go and save Chris Pine's daughter, who is being essentially held, not captive kind of, but like as a ward of Hugh Grant's character. And they assemble a team to do that, and the team includes Justin Smith's character, the sorcerer, and the girl from It. I forget what her name is. Her name is Sophia Lillis, the druid, and then they get a little help from Roger Jean Page, who is the paladin guy. So I think they did a good job of setting up like, here's what has to happen in the movie, and then we can just kind of watch this like essentially a heist uh, to help save a person. go off. So I think that the plot was simple enough where it didn't need a lot of weird exposition to explain the stuff in D&D. I think it was light enough where it really came together quickly, and they were able to execute it pretty quick as well. What are some of the things you didn't like?
That I did not like.
Yeah,
Um,
like any reveals or anything you didn't care for.
I don't know about reveals. I would have liked to seen some more D&D stuff, but I understand like it would have been really fucking hard. Like you can't do fucking death saves,
Yeah,
like that's gonna be rough. Um, and no, I mean I don't know. I think it did a pretty good job. Like anything that I may have not enjoyed would just be nitpicking, like I had mentioned the practical effects of certain things,
hmm
but I don't know, man.
if
I
they
think
were,
it rode the middle pretty well.
yeah, I think it did. If there was one thing from D&D, it could be a monster, a particular mechanic, a spell, whatever you
I
want.
know, a
What would you?
beholder. I would
A
have loved
behold?
to have seen a beholder. They
Sure.
mention a beholder,
hmm
and they show a beholder in like a drawing, but it's just such a classic D&D monster. Like, I mean, I guess he would have had to have been the main villain, and particularly because I feel like they were all like low level characters. Like I can't imagine them being higher than five. I think they had to be like five or below.
I was
But
reading somewhere that someone was saying that they were like level 17, and that does not. I mean, that doesn't seem like they are to me.
yeah, no.
But so I forget. I read it somewhere on the internet. Someone was like, "Oh
And
yeah,
particularly the sorcerer himself, like with no
yeah,
way.
yeah." Or I mean, at level 17, the characters are almost like impervious to damage and stuff. And I definitely didn't get that feeling from them. I think a beholder would be a really cool addition. And if we're talking about the one from the D&D movie from 2000 or whatever it was, 2001, there was a beholder in that, which was the worst depiction ever. Like they snuck up behind him. I'm like, it's literally a ball with eyes on it. Like what do you can't sneak up on it? Um, I think that would be cool, but I think you're right. I think it would have to be like one of the bigger bads in the movie because beholders are, they may look goofy to the uninitiated, but they're nothing to joke about for sure. Um, if I had to put like one thing into it, I think would be funny would be like maybe like something about someone like looting too much, like if they had a bag of holding, I think would be a fun thing
They
to.
didn't mention any bags of holdings. You're right.
Yeah,
It's such a like staple in fucking. You have to get one like early on in the game.
yeah, it would be cool if if someone just kept pulling stuff and they'd be like, how much what kind of stuff do you keep in there, and they pull out like a spear or something. That would have been, I think, a pretty fun thing to include. I mean, they had the mimic was
Yeah,
really fun. I thought that was a great thing. Also, did you notice that one of the other groups in the maze was from the 90s cartoon,
yeah. The
80s
'90s
cartoon?
cartoon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They were just grown up. Like, but all
But they
the
had like the
outfits.
horn helmet and stuff,
Yeah,
and yeah.
all the outfits were the same. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Like I caught that early on. I was like, hey, it's the cartoon guys.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
They just didn't have the little dungeon master, but that would have been actually hilarious if it
Yeah,
was in
yeah, yeah.
somewhere.
I would have liked. I would say, we got little hints of other races and stuff throughout the throughout the movie. Like we had Bradley Cooper as a halfling, which
Which
was
I thought was crazy. Like I was telling Sabrina, I was like, "Hey, it's fucking that guy." She's like, "What?" Like, I was like, "Fucking Rocket! It's Rocket
Rocky,
right there."
Rocky. Yeah, Bradley Cooper obviously has a taste for larger women. I can respect that. Um, yeah, I thought like we got little hints of some of the other characters. We saw one dwarf, we saw one orc, we saw one dragonborn, one tabaxi. So there was like a little bit of them sprinkled in there. It would have been nice to see a few more. Um, like even when we were in the elf village or whatever with the tiefling chick, we didn't see that many elves.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel like there's a pretty good mix in there. Um, Overall, man, I think it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I think fans of D&D game, the game, and fantasy movies, action comedy movies in general will all really enjoy it.
That was good. I was actually I was surprised that none of the Critical Role guys were in there, unless they were in there somewhere and I didn't notice. I
That's
was
true. I
I
think
was
that that's kind of a missed opportunity. Like at least Matt Mercer, you know what I mean? Like have him as an innkeeper or something. I think
yeah.
would have been hilarious. Now that you mentioned that, that seems to me like it could have been a big miss. Like that they should have, you know, they should have really had them in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Even if they were like one of the other groups in
running
the
around, right?
running around in the thing, like how cool would that have been?
but I'd watched it with along with my sister, my niece, our good friend Crystal, and who plays D&D. And I told her, like, dude, I'm surprised, none of the Critical Role guys were there. And she brought up the point, like, don't they have enough? I was like, yeah, that's kind of true, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
that is true. You know, it's. I just think it would have been another one of those like fun Easter eggs. And who's to say like if this movie does well enough, I'm sure they'll do another one. But it's like it would have been cool to just even if you would like I said, like an innkeeper would have been perfect. Just doing one of his classic like D&D voices or whatever. I think would have been pretty funny to see, and like the real fans would be like, "Oh my god, so cool!" But they do. I mean, they do have their own
their
things
fucking
going on.
empire that they built.
Yeah, exactly. And the more I always kind of like uh bring up the fact that I don't really watch Critical Role. I'm not a big time watcher of streams, but I will always like respect what they've done for the D&D as a whole. You know what I mean? It's just without them, there would be no D&D movie. There'd be no like huge D&D update coming out with a virtual tabletop and stuff. Like they've done so much to put so many eyeballs onto the hobby that it's pretty incredible, to have them on there. But yeah, man, it would have been kind of fun to have him be on there. Now, I will say one last thing we'll bring up before we end. Did you notice the director of the movie, or one of the directors? It was directed by two people.
No.
So the director is John Francis Daly,
Okay.
who plays the thing I remember him most from is he was the like younger brother in Freaks and Geeks.
The
Who
younger brother. The younger brother.
Yeah, I think he was Linda Cardellini's brother, I think. Um and then he was also in if you ever watched Bones, the show Bones.
Oh yeah,
He,
yeah, yeah.
he was the I forget like one of the
Oh, you mean
agents or
like the main character of Freaks and Geeks? Wasn't he the main character?
yeah, he was one of the main characters. I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of an ensemble thing, but he was the nerdy little kid. I think he was Linda Cardellini's brother. I think it's been a long time since I've seen Freaks and Geeks. So
Yeah, yeah, I know you're talking. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know he directed it.
yeah, it was him and what was the other guy's name? I'm trying to look it up here. Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly. He also helped write the screenplay, and it looks like Chris McKay even had some say in the screenplay too. So pretty cool. But yeah, good movie, guys. I think everyone should go check it out. If you like D&D or you like fantasy and action and comedy, there's a little something in there for everyone. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of D&D Honor Amongst Thieves. Um, did it live up to your expectations? Are you going to try D&D if you've never tried it before? We'd love to hear. Make sure to leave us a comment or hit us up on the social medias. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Look, I kept it. I brought it back. And again, you can check out patreon.com/nerds with friends to help support the show. It does mean a lot to us, to all the patrons who help support us every month. And thank you guys for dealing with us here on Zoom. We hope it looks just as good, sounds just as good as you're used to. And we will try to get back to being more consistent now that we're kind of settling into my new job and Christian being busy at work. So we'll try to keep us on more of a regular schedule. But yeah, guys, thanks everyone for listening. Christian, as always, thanks for being the rogue to my paladin. I don't know. Thanks for always being my honor amongst thieves. I don't
There we
know.
go.
To all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you.